What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with a drug review for Molly. Hope you guys do enjoy this video. Drop a like if you do. Let's dive right the fuck into it, alright? No holding back today, alright? The next part of the mansion story, by the way, will probably be out either tomorrow or the day after. I'm not really sure. I'll figure that out, but soon either way. So, yeah, let's dive right into it. So, pros of Molly or MDMA or whatever you want to call it. First and foremost, for those of you people out there watching this video who haven't done Molly, I don't encourage it at all. I want to make that very clear. I'm not trying to promote or glorify it or make it sound good. This is solely just to educate and inform. And what Molly does to you is it makes you just feel very, very happy. You feel very warm inside almost. You feel really, really good. I can't even really put into words how it makes you feel. It's just this total sense of euphoria, if that comes even close to describing how you feel. And that's a huge pro of it. It makes you feel great for the time being while you're, still on it. It's also another pro that's kind of tied in is it's really uncomparable to any other drug. Some people call it a psychedelic. I'd argue that it's not, but it is at the same time. It's like a very odd mix of, it's just in its own lane, really. It's not like acid, it's not like shrooms, you don't really trip, but it's just so different. It's very, very unique, and I consider that a pro, as well as it's almost always going to be a good time when you take it. Very rarely, I've heard rumors of bad trips. My personal experience, I've never had one, and sure, you could be at risk of having one, but I found that it is much, much, much more uncommon to have a bad experience on Molly than it is on substances like acid or shrooms or things like that. So typically, you're almost guaranteed a good time as long as you're surrounded with some good people. Not only that, it's very worth the money, and considering the frequency of how often you're supposed to do it, I'd call it affordable. You only need to spend maybe 10 to 20 bucks to get enough Molly to last you for the day. And, you're only really supposed to do it every 3 months, 6 months, if even, very infrequently. And we'll get more on that later, but it's also easy to conceal. That's kind of a self-explanatory thing. It doesn't really smell. It's, easy to hide, unlike weed. And it's also not terribly addictive. Now, I have met people who were addicted to Molly. I've met quite a few people, but it's not quite as addictive as some other substances that I'm going to cover on this, or in this series, excuse me. So I'm going to classify it as not terribly addictive, but don't take that as oh yeah, it's not terribly addictive. That means I can go do it. Because if you take it that way, you're a fucking dickhead idiot, and no, don't do that. But either way, let's get on to the cons here. So, first and foremost, I'm going to talk about some of the petty things before I get to the major cons. It can be fairly uncommon depending on where you live. I know people are going to comment and be like, oh, Goblin, I can just order it off the dark web right now. But you have to understand, the vast majority of drug users don't do that. They just rely on their plug. So, for most people, it's not a super common thing. And if it is for you, consider yourself fairly lucky. Also, the day after of Molly, I don't want to call it the come down, but just the next day, the kind of quote-unquote Molly hangover is arguably one of the worst of any drugs. And, I'd even argue that it's worse than an alcohol hangover, because you just feel like shit no matter what you do all day. At least when you've drank a lot the night before and you woke up hungover, you can kind of help it out and cure it. But, the day after on Molly, there's nothing you can really do that I've found to help it at all. You just feel like shit, because you've been feeling so happy and so much dopamine's been released in your body, and while you were rolling, you just kind of overloaded. The day after, you can't really feel happy or excited. You just feel so mellow and monotone and depressed. Everything feels very gloomy. And yeah, I hope that's a good way to describe it. I'm not really sure, but yeah, I guess that's the best way I can put it. The next thing that I do want to cover as a huge con of it is it can be really dangerous in, a kind of party or concert setting. And here's why. When you take Molly, your heart's racing. You're really warm. Your body temperature goes up considerably. And you got to make sure that you stay hydrated whenever you're rolling. You always got to make sure you're drinking water, bring excess water, bring more than you're going to need just to make sure that you're good, because there's been plenty of stories of people just passing the fuck out or worse because they're at a concert and they're rolling balls and they have nothing to drink and they just sweat their ass off until they just pass out due to fatigue or whatever, it depends, or they just overheat, whatever it may be. But that's a huge con of it because it can be really, really dangerous. I mean, people have had serious health problems from this happening, and granted, that's because they were irresponsible, but still, I do have to cover that. I feel responsible to talk about that in this video. And also, it's really bad for your body to do frequently. Most users are supposed to be doing it very, very infrequently, as I mentioned earlier, maybe every 3 to 6 months, but if you do it like once a week even, it's terrible, terrible for your body, and you'll see impact, you'll see like a serious change in your mind. I met a guy when I was in rehab who he was addicted. He took a shit ton of Molly, and this guy couldn't complete a sentence without stuttering his ass off. I mean, this guy could barely talk right. It was terrible. I felt really bad for the guy, but I mean, that's just kind of how it is. So overall, weighing out the pros and the cons, we're going to give it a score out of 10 here, everybody. And, with everything being said, I feel that a lot of the cons on this substance can be avoided with responsible use. So I don't want those to really impact the score too heavily. So I'm going to have to go ahead and give Molly a 9.4. Hey, that's a 9.4. My dog just growled. Are you not happy with that? You want me to run it up? That's a 9.6. That's a 9.6, everybody. That's a 9.6. That's a 9.6, guys. So, 9.6 out of 10. That's phenomenal. That's wow. Wow. What a great score, everybody. Let's get an applause in the comments. I want to see some clap emojis in the comments. And everybody to reply to the other clap emojis with more clap emojis. 9.6. Wow. So, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.